atrocities against the Ukrainian people is mind-blowing. I'm making this video just to show you what's going on here. We can help. We gotta do something, people. I make these choices and go inside Ukraine and do this. So, going through the whole equipment thing, I missed my flight from Vienna to Lublin. So I had to fly to Warsaw. And this is where my fixer, translator, I'm not sure what, I ended up calling them Sherpas because, to me they were, taking me and guiding me, across desolate lands, and they were my friends. But this was my first experience for what I ended up calling Sherpas, fixers. And boy, did I go through many of them just even getting inside Ukraine. It was an ordeal. So my first fixer, picked me up at the airport in Warsaw. I had like $1,700 in the bank account. My equipment is gone. And from there, my fixer took me from Warsaw halfway to Lublin. I got out of the car with him and got in the car with someone else that didn't speak any English, and they took me from Lublin to right outside of the Ukrainian border. And then I got out of the car and got in the car with a family. Got all my equipment, got everything loaded up, and I spent 3 or 4 hours at the border, which I'd never seen anything like this. There were literally this thousands of people, coming across from Ukraine into Poland. I've never seen that type of, I don't even have words for it. This, the energy was this sadness and this displacement, and I feel like a misfit and a freak and displaced all the time. I can only imagine these people are displaced from their land, and how they feel. And it was very, the energy was very, very, very heavy. And I started feeling very isolated also on the border, because I kind of just realized, I had taken for granted, I have been all throughout Europe, and on all my travels, I can always find someone, or seem to be someone in my, close grabbing distance that can speak some English. At this moment, I've had about 12 hours of no one speaking English, and I'm with the family, and going across the Ukrainian border, it was intense. I couldn't speak with anyone, couldn't ask questions. So, crossing the border, stressful, driving down this road and getting dumped by the store and told, they're coming, and then being left on the side of the road in Ukraine. Then it kind of hit me like, holy shit, what have I gotten myself into? Man, what if no one comes? What do I do? And even then, it was kind of stressful, but to me, I still had a resolve. It was 2 miles from the border, 2 or 3 miles from the border. I just walked back over, no problem, no biggie, no foul. So then my fixer came, his name was, I've met so many different Mykola. It was my first Mykola that I met while I was there. And I remember feeling stressed out. I'd been there like an hour. I didn't know really what to think or what to feel at this moment. I hear John McClane, American Pie, blaring in the distance, and all of a sudden, Mykola pulls up in his car and playing Don McClane, my next fixer. So he drove me from there. We went to Lviv, which he could speak a little English, which was very refreshing, just having someone to talk to, and he was very happy I was there. We went to Lviv from there and dropped off the supplies. We met a group of people, resistance fighters. They showed up in Lviv, and apparently one of those was one of the individuals I was supposed to kind of attach myself with, and he was going to be in Lviv, and I was going to serve soup to refugees. But he decided once the supplies got there, I'm not sure when he made a decision, but they were headed back down to the Donetsk region and the Kherson region. That's where they were taking the supplies. So they did not want me to go with them. They're like, that's very dangerous where we're going, and I can understand that. So they were like, we know you were supposed to do this. But I mean, and honestly, the train it's back at Warsaw now. They backed out. The whole organization backed up. They took the train out, and the whole like refugee food thing, whatever it was I was supposed to work with, they had moved back to Warsaw for, I guess, because of the missiles and, you know, artillery, and the invasion was getting pretty intense at that moment. So he's like, well, you know, if you want to hang out in Lviv for a couple of days, I might, you know, can help you out. I know someone that can put you somewhere to volunteer. It's very important that you're here, and it's very important that you tell the story. And, you know, long story short, I stayed in Lviv. We got to Lviv, I think it was like 5 in the afternoon under heavy air raid sirens. It was my first experience of hearing air raid sirens, and it was very surreal. I didn't know what to think, really, or how to process that. And I was told to get used to it, because at the moment there were, you know, up to like 10 to 15 air raid sirens a day, and, you know, all across Ukraine. Come to find out that once there's any kind of missile or artillery in the air, they were firing air raid sirens in all the major cities, everywhere pretty much. So that was pretty intense. I stayed in a refugee center my first night in Lviv. I met many families and talked to some people. I didn't do any interviews or try to conduct any interviews or anything really, because I just felt like I wasn't meant to document or interview. I was still under the impression that my camera equipment's gone. I ain't making a movie at this point. You know, this is about the experience. So I met some wonderful families there. You know, most of them were from Mariupol area. I guess the east side of the Donetsk region. You know, lots of families displaced, lost their homes. They had lost family members. And I guess you could say that was my first like interaction with people who had lost. Big loss, a lot. It was very heavy. I didn't even know how to process what the stories that I was being told. And luckily at the refugee shelter, there was several people there that could speak English. Lots of younger folks, I guess you could say, to a degree, that were there. And so they kind of helped me just talk with people and introduce people and meeting people. The fixer that was supposed to come in and I was going to hook me up with some volunteer services, I guess you could say, in Lviv, he didn't show up the next day. So once again, my whole like mission, everything's in jeopardy. I'm not sure what I'm going to do or where I'm going to go, or, you know, what's happening. I just didn't know. But there was another guy. It's like, I have a friend in Ternopil. If you want to go to Ternopil, they might could use some help in Ternopil. I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to Ternopil. So I took the train from Lviv to Ternopil. Met my second, Mykola, and his family. They were from the Mariupol area also and had lost everything. They were staying in a hotel when we become really good, close, very, very quick. They invited me for lunch that day with their family, and they were, I guess you could say that was my first introduction to Ukrainian families, and just, you know, just how giving and their courage, and, you know, just how willing they are to invite a stranger in, you know, and make them a part of their family after losing every single thing they have. You know, it was very warm to do that. So I was in the park, which was a very surreal. When I got to Ternopil, it was, I don't know, it kind of, I started feeling kind of like, for once on the trip, that I'd made a mistake. Like, you know, after about 4 or 5 letdowns of places that I could volunteer kind of evaporating, at that moment, I just really felt like I had made a mistake in coming, simply due to the fact that I just didn't, things wasn't happening the way I'd planned, or it wasn't, you know, I don't know. I just kind of felt that I would come and get fit in right in with a volunteer organization and to start servicing my humans and feel all good and lovely, and that would be it. But, you know, nothing was going as planned. I'm with people I've never met. I'm been transferred now through 3 or 4 fixers that I don't even know. And the whole time, it could have been anybody. You know, it could have been KGB. They could have been, I don't know, you know, pro-Russian. Who knows? I didn't know. But the universe kept telling me, keep going, keep going. I got to show you something. I didn't know what that was at the time. So I hung out in Ternopil, and I'm walking through a park, and I snap a photo of some sandbags and the sunset. Oh my God, it was such a beautiful photo. The contrast of like war and this natural beauty. It was, I don't know, it said something to me. Snap. Next thing I hear are like this footstep, bam, 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 and I turn around and here comes like 4 military men with AK-47s, and they're cocking their guns as they're running. They're pulling them up. They ask me what I'm doing. Only one Ukrainian soldier kind of speaks a little English. I was terrified. They told me I can't be taking pictures, and they asked me to follow them back into the military little installation. So I followed them back to inside their little complex. We went back to a little office, and another lady came in, and she spoke a little more English, but it was still hard. We're still trying to pull up Google Translate, which is another horror story. I don't know. But I was trying to explain to them that I was press. I knew the rules. I probably shouldn't have took that photo. But what made it hard is, what made it hard was, anytime I go out of the country, especially in cities I don't know about, I always print out like, topographics of like railway systems and maps and like this. I want to know where I'm at. I'm just really weird about that, because if I travel solo and alone, I have to know where I'm at, my bearings anyway. So I had all these maps of like Lviv and Kyiv and Ukraine, and I got all these maps where the Russians are. So I got X's. Okay, if happens I do go this way, these are the areas I have to stay away from. So when it got me to this, this, I don't want to call it an interrogation room, or because it never felt like that. Even though I was kind of somewhat being interrogated, it was more like this, just being probed for information. But when there's 20 pieces of paper laid out in front of all these Ukrainian soldiers, and there's all these topographical maps of key, it's kind of hard to explain. So I found myself between a rock and a hard place trying to explain what was going on. Luckily, I want to say maybe a commander came in, and he was very fluent in English. Told him my situation, told him that my press passes had been stolen, apologized for taking the photos. They took my phone, went through my phone, deleted probably about 20 photos that I had taken, and I think they accidentally had deleted about 5 interviews that I had luckily kind of forced myself to get, in the process. So after that little, I guess you could say, circus in Ternopil, I was able to catch my train from Ternopil into Kyiv. What's up, folks? I got thrown to the wolves today.